Dock pay for being late by 2 minutes. Enjoy paying massive overtime. I worked in an electricity retailer call center. It was highly unionized, but the management tracked login times to the minute. One incredibly ridiculous thing they did was if you were a minute or two late, they would literally dock your pay by that many minutes. It wasn't really enough for us to really notice, and I'm sure they didn't actually save any money. I mean, if you were 15 minutes late I could understand not paying, but 3 minutes late. Well, eventually the union discovered what they were doing, and were completely pissed that they hadn't been consulted about this banana move. This is where their MC comes in. The union demanded log on and log off times for everyone in the call center. What management hadn't counted on was that all of us would often need to wrap up calls and clear the call queue before the call center could officially close. This often meant that operators would leave several minutes after their shift. On bad occasions it could be 15 to 20 minutes delay before they could clock off, but mostly it was only a few minutes. Union made management recalculate everyone's pay for the year based on clock on and clock off time. They also pointed out that staying past end of shift triggered penalty rates. It turns out everyone, and I mean everyone, had spent more time wrapping up calls at the end of the day than they were late clocking on. Each of us got paid for lost wages, at overtime rates. It cost them a fortune and they never docked the pay of anyone who was late ever again. Edit. Wow, this got more response than I thought it would. Thanks for the silver. It's pretty messed up that they were calculating clock on times with that precision but not counting clock off times.
The previous 3 jobs I worked would give written warnings about being 5 minutes late, but then zucchini and moan about me leaving spot on my clock off time, to the point that with one, I would leave the floor at 3 minutes beforehand so I clocked off exactly on time. Moving forward to my currently job, on a daily basis I am there 15 to 30 minutes after clock off time, and I don't even flinch at doing that. All because I know if I walk in 5, 10, 30 minutes late, my boss doesn't bat an eyelid. Extra 10 on lunch? Whatever. Because she knows it's quid pro quo. They probably owe me hours now, but I don't track it because of this flexibility and respect. I think if more employers did this, more people would stay.
I wish the union I was part of had balls like this one.
Unions get their balls from the members. If you can't stick together as workers, the union can't help you. They organize the numbers they have on board to action, but they can't force you to be on board.
I worked for a call center where they insisted you set up your systems before logging in, working off the clock. I got a letter about a class action suit, and ended up getting several $100s in back pay.
I used to do IT at a company with a pretty big call center and they used to have that rule. I thought it was coconut because some computers were very slow. So if you had a slow computer, you were showing up 15 minutes before someone with a new computer and not getting paid for it. Well, they fired the wrong person who went on to discover that this was illegal. She sued them and they had to give years of back pay to hundreds of current and former employees.
I once had a salary non-exempt job. The company didn't know it was non-exempt though. I was required to clock in and out to track hours, even though I was paid salary. Lo and behold, if I was under 40, my check would be smaller, but never bigger if I was over 40 hours. Filed a complaint with the state, was ruled officially non-exempt. Company was required to reimburse all allotted time and a half and pay the state a penalty. Unsurprisingly, the OT payout was substantially more than they saved by trimming my pay for being under 40 hours. I left when I got my check.
Salaried, non-exempt is a zucchini sweet deal.
It's nice to see positive union interactions.
Yeah, it was a pretty good union.
How to use a strict teachers to strike rule to ace a test. This didn't happen to me, but to my dad, and it's one of my favorite stories he tells. Some years ago, by which I mean 2 or so decades, roughly, my dad was at a several-day course to earn some additional qualifications for his job. On the final day, there was going to be a multiple-choice test to actually pass the seminar. On test day, everyone got settled into place, and the teacher announced that he would not go easy on cheaters. You had 1 strike to be caught trying to copy off of someone else or use a cheat sheet, but if you were caught a second time, you would be immediately thrown out and your score made invalid. Now, this teacher was very old school strict, and treating grown working people like unruly school children, and my dad does not like that very much. So my dad proceeds to take the test, and it goes pretty well. When he's through with the questions, there is just one left where he's not sure he's got it right. And he has a free strike, after all. So my dad yells out into the class. Just calls out, "What's the answer to question 14? Some complete bro elsewhere in the room yells the answer back. My dad fills in the sheet, gets up, walks to the teacher's desk, presumably tries to not trip on the teacher's jaw as it lies on the floor, hands in his test, and leaves the room. To the teacher's credit, he approached my dad afterwards with some begrudging respect. I don't know if he changed his policy afterwards, or the tone in which he conveyed it. Edit, holy coconut, this blew up. I'm glad my dad's shenanigans brought a smile to so many people. 3 and thank you for the silver, even though I had to Google what that means. Seriously weird rule. I'm totally floored by the idea that adults need a don't cheat twice rule. Textbook MC, though, D.
Don't get caught cheating twice.
What happened to the one who gave the answer though?
He used up his free strike too.
That is seriously the best MC ever.
And the teachers admitted the mistake, even if they weren't happy about it.
To be honest though, the opposite of this 2 strikes and you're out rule is a no tolerance policy.
No tolerance for cheating on tests is a pretty understandable stance, and even then there are degrees of intolerance. On the light side, you have to come back and resit the test. Middle ground, you are banned from ever taking the test. Worst case scenario, you get shot for it.
My students were offered a one-sided study sheet during their exam, summer school. We moved fast. A student showed up with red-blue 3D glasses and a beautiful one-sided sheet written all over with red in one direction and the corresponding blue in the other direction. Was impressed. Let her use it. Made a new rule thereafter, but told future students about her legacy and how I appreciate cleverness. No one has come close since. Lol.
Someone in my class brought in a Mobius strip, completely covered with notes, and since that particular shape is technically only one-sided, our teacher's one-side-only policy on notes during quizzes did not disallow it.
Customer at Subway wants to speak to the manager. I worked at a Subway that didn't have any authority/managers, just a couple minimum wage base level workers. I don't remember what this particular customer was mad about, but she was arguing with me and didn't like the answer I gave her. She asked to speak to the manager, and there not being a manager, I decided to promote myself on the spot and replied with manager speaking, "How can I help you?" This did not make her very happy because she realized she was not going to get a different answer and asked for a phone number to call. Owner has specifically told us never to give his cell number to customers, so I gave her the store number. She gives me a coconut eating grin thinking about how much trouble she's about to get me in when the phone behind me starts to ring. I will never forget the face she gave me as I answer the phone, look her in the eyes, and ask her, "How may I help you?" She gives me a butternut eating grin thinking about how much trouble she's about to get me in when the phone behind me starts to ring. I will never forget the face she gave me as I answer the phone, look her in the eyes, and ask her, "How may I help you?" Now I wish I was a fly on the wall to see that coconut eating grin being wiped off her smug face as she realizes she won't be able to get her way, nor get you in trouble. Wonderful story.
That one moment has made working in customer service for so long worth it. Lamau.
What could have happened at Subway that someone needs to speak to a manager? You go down the line and tell the sandwich artist what you want on your sub. You literally butternut stand there 2 feet away and watch them put the meat and veggies on a piece of bread.
Ask to speak with the supervisor, have argument with self.
Literally had this happen at my bar last night. Alright guy, you need to leave. Coconut you bro, where's your manager? I am the manager. Get out of my bar. You're the manager? You're a zucchini kid, get the real manager. Go. Cue my big banana bouncer throwing this idiot out. Edit, Q not Q.
Absolute friggin' unit, Joe is.
People really get mad at Subway like the banana food isn't laid out in front of their eyes.
People get mad at the upcharges. They don't want to pay more money for double meat, even though they're getting more of the most expensive part of a sandwich. I've also seen people get mad when they get a combo meal and want a larger drink but are charged more. Customers are sometimes irrational.
This is nice for this sub, but I cannot help but to think that is a terrible way to run a store.
I guess he figured all the money lost from employees stealing from the store and giving free subs to their friends was less than paying a manager's wage.